Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are clearing the table. We are pushing aside the niche topics and the obscure mysteries for a moment to tackle the big one.
And you really don't mean big.
I do mean the big one, the ultimate dinosaur, the one that every single person listening, from, toddlers to grandparents, knows by name.
Or at least they know the abbreviation.
Yeah.
It's the only dinosaur that has that kind of celebrity status where you don't even need the full name. T-Rex.
Exactly. We are talking about Tyrannosaurus rex, the king. And honestly, I think most of us carry around a very specific mental model of this animal.
Oh, for sure.
It's the movie monster. It's the thing rippling the water in the plastic cup. It's the Jeep chaser. But looking through this massive stack of research you've brought today, the reality is so much stranger than the blockbuster version.
It really is. The popular image of T-Rex has been, well, it's been frozen in time since the early 90s, essentially. But the science has been moving at light speed.
Right.
We aren't just looking at a movie monster anymore. We are looking at a biological marvel. We're going to be talking about an animal that pushes the absolute limits of what is physically possible for a bipedal predator.
And that's what I want to do today. I want to peel back all those layers of pop culture. We're going to reconstruct the real king. We're going to talk about whether it had lips, the raging debate over whether it had feathers, the controversy over whether it's actually 3 different species, and the absolute nightmare mechanics of its bite.
And we're going to do this by looking at how paleontology actually works. Because we aren't just guessing anymore. We're moving from looking at broken bones to understanding life history, growth rates, cellular biology, and even complex social behavior.
It's like a detective story.
It is. It's a detective story that's been running for over 100 years.
So let's set the stage. We all know the name, Tyrannosaurus rex. Tyrant Lizard King. It has to be the coolest scientific name ever coined.
It is hard to beat, I have to admit. It was named by Henry Fairfield Osborn way back in 1905. And right from the start, there was this recognition that this animal was the ruler of its domain.
Where was that domain exactly?
It lived in Western North America on what was then a separate island continent called Laramidia. This was right at the very end of the age of dinosaurs, the Maastrichtian age, so about 69 to 66 million years ago.
So it was there for the curtain call.
Exactly. It was one of the last non-avian dinosaurs to walk the Earth before the asteroid hit. It saw the end of the world.
Wow.
But before that, it was the apex. And when I say apex, I don't just mean it was at the top of the food chain. I mean it dominated the ecosystem in a way very few predators ever have.
Okay, let's unpack the sheer scale of this beast, because I think sometimes the numbers get lost. We hear big, but how big are we talking?
Well, let's look at the most famous specimen, Sue, which is housed at the Field Museum in Chicago. Sue has been the gold standard for a long time.
Right, everyone knows Sue.
And for good reason. We are talking about a skeleton that is roughly 12.3 to 12.4 meters long.
Which is what? In feet? About 40?
About 40 to 41 feet, yeah.
That's a school bus. A living, breathing school bus with teeth?
A very heavy school bus.
Yeah.
Sue stands nearly 4 meters tall at the hips. That's 13 feet. So its back is higher than a basketball hoop.
Unbelievable.
But the weight is where the modern science has really changed our understanding.
How so? Did we used to think they were lighter?
Oh, much. For a long time, we thought of dinosaurs as these sluggish tail-dragging lizards. The models were, let's say, a bit shrink-wrapped.
Right.
But modern estimates, using 3D mathematical slicing and volumetric displacement models, have bulked them up significantly. We now put the mass of a mature adult, like Sue, around 8.8 to 9.2 tons.
9 tons. That is significant. That's 2 large African elephants taped together.
And balancing on 2 legs. That's the key.
And Sue isn't even the biggest one we found, right?
Possibly not. There is a specimen called Scotty in Saskatchewan that might be even heavier. Some estimates put Scotty at nearly 9 tons as well, maybe even pushing the upper limit of 10.
So this isn't just big. This is pushing the biological limits of walking on 2 legs, isn't it?
It absolutely is. When you get that heavy, gravity becomes your biggest enemy. Every single step places immense stress on the bones. And all that bulk is centered around a massive torso and a tail that has to balance, well, the business end. The head.
The skull. Let's talk about that skull. Because it's iconic, but it's also a piece of engineering.
It is massive. The largest skulls are over 1.5 meters. That's 5 feet long. But it's the shape that's fascinating. If you look at other large meat-eating dinosaurs, like the Giganotosaurus from South America, or the Spinosaurus.
Right, they're kind of long and narrow.
Exactly. Their skulls are often narrow. They look like knife blades from the front or top.
Thin and slicey.
Exactly.
Mm.
But T-Rex You look at a T-Rex skull from the back. It is incredibly wide. It's flared out. But the snout is narrow.
Okay, so wide at the back, narrow at the front. Why does that shape matter?
It's all about vision. That shape allows the eyes to face forward, not just to the sides. It grants T-Rex binocular vision.
Depth perception.
Precisely. Most dinosaurs had eyes on the sides of their heads. Great for peripheral vision, seeing a predator coming from behind, but terrible for judging distance.
But the T-Rex is looking right at you.
Right at you, with overlapping visual fields, and not just okay depth perception. There was a landmark study by Ken Stevens at the University of Oregon. He modeled the visual field of T-Rex using lasers and facial reconstruction.
Lasers, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. And what did he find? He found it had a binocular range of 55 degrees.
55 degrees. How does that compare to, say, us? Or a bird of prey?
It's better than a modern hawk.
Great. Better than a hawk?
In terms of the binocular overlap, yes. And it gets crazier. Stevens estimated that T-Rex had 13 times the visual acuity of a human.
13 times.
Yes. And significantly better than an eagle. He calculated that a T-Rex could distinguish objects as separate from the horizon up to 6 kilometers away.
6 kilometers? That's almost 4 miles.
Yep. It could see you long, long before you could see it.
Okay, so that scene in Jurassic Park.
Oh, you mean the don't move, its vision is based on movement scene?
Yeah. That's busted.
Completely and utterly busted. It is one of the biggest myths in pop culture. If you stood still in front of a T-Rex, it would see you comfortably in high definition, and it would probably be wondering why the snack is presenting itself so politely.
That is terrifying. It completely changes the dynamic. It's not a clumsy monster flailing around. It's a sniper.
A sniper is a good analogy.
Yeah.
And it's not just vision. We have to talk about smell.
I remember reading about the brain casts.
Right. We can use CT scans on the inside of the skull to see the shape of the brain, or at least the cavity it sat in.
The endocast, right?
The endocast, exactly. And the olfactory bulbs, the part of the brain dedicated to smell in T-Rex, are huge. Relative to its brain size, they are massive. In fact, research showed that of 21 different dinosaur species sampled, T-Rex had the most highly developed sense of smell.
It's basically a bloodhound the size of a bus.
A bloodhound with eagle eyes. It could likely smell a carcass or prey from kilometers away. This combination of senses is actually quite rare. Usually animals specialize. They prioritize one or the other. T-Rex doubled down on both.
Okay, so it finds you. It sees you from miles away. It smells you. Now we have to talk about the lethal bananas.
Ah, yes. The teeth.
I love that description. Lethal bananas, because they aren't flat, right? They're not like knives.
No. And this is a key distinction from other predators. Many carnivorous dinosaurs had teeth that were like steak knives, flat, serrated, designed to slice through flesh. We call those xiphodont teeth. T-Rex teeth are different. They are encrassate.
Encrassate. That's a new one for me.
It just means thickened. They are D-shaped in cross-section. They are thick, round, and reinforced with ridges on the back. They look like railroad spikes.
So they aren't just for slicing.
They are for crushing. That shape prevents the tooth from snapping when the animal bites down with tremendous force and pulls. If you bite into bone with a flat, knife-like tooth and the prey twists, your tooth snaps.
But if you use a railroad spike,
The bone snaps.
that is a gruesome image. What's the biggest tooth we've ever found?
The largest one is over 30 centimeters.
Yeah?
That's 12 inches long, but that includes the root.
Oh.
And the root is actually 2/3 of the tooth. It's anchored into the jaw like a pylon in concrete. This animal wasn't just nipping at you. It was engaging in osteophagy.
Osteophagy?
Bone eating. We find coprolites fossilized poop attributed to Tyrannosaurs that are just full of pulverized bone fragments. They were eating the marrow, the rich nutrients inside the bone that other predators couldn't access.
It's a whole other level of predation.
It's total consumption.
Okay, speaking of the mouth, we have to address a recent controversy. The lips.
Oh, the great lip debate. This has really heated up in the last few years. It's one of those things that seems small, but it totally changes how you picture the animal.
Because in movies, the teeth are always hanging out, right? Like a crocodile. They look snaddle-toothed and scary. It's part of the monster aesthetic. But there's been a pushback on that.
There has. For a long time, the assumption was that, like crocodiles, T-Rex didn't have lips. But there's a problem with that model.
What's that?
Crocodiles are aquatic. They spend most of their time in the water, so they don't need to worry about their enamel drying out. But T-Rex was terrestrial.
And if your teeth dry out, they get brittle.
Exactly. Enamel needs hydration to stay strong and not crack. A study came out in 2023 by Thomas Cullen and his colleagues that looked at this specifically. They compared the wear patterns on tyrannosaur teeth to crocodiles and monitor lizards.
What did the forensic evidence show?
They found that the enamel on T-Rex teeth didn't show the kind of wear you see in crocodiles. Croc teeth get eroded on the outside because they are constantly exposed to the elements. Tyrannosaur teeth look pristine, much more like a monitor lizard, which has lips covering its teeth when the mouth is closed.
So T-Rex likely had lips.
It's the leading theory right now based on that study. Now, it wouldn't have looked like a human mouth with big, fleshy kissing lips.
Right.
Think more like a Komodo dragon, a thin, scaly covering. The teeth would be hidden when the mouth was closed.
That actually makes it scarier to me. It looks more calculating. Less like a mindless monster with teeth sticking out everywhere and more like a giant focused reptile. It cleans up the lines of the face.
It changes the profile completely. It makes it look less like a fantasy dragon and more like a real plausible animal.
So we have this massive, keen-eyed, lip-having, bone-crushing beast. Now, the big question is, can I outrun it?
The age-old question, the one everyone asks.
The movie scene, the Jeep chase. Must go faster. Could a T-Rex actually chase down a Jeep doing 30 or 40 miles per hour?
In a word, no.
Really? You're crushing dreams here.
I'm saving lives, or, well, ruining the movie at least. The Jeep chase is pure Hollywood. When we look at the biomechanics of an animal that weighs 8 or 9 tons, running in the strictly biomechanical sense of having both feet off the ground at the same time becomes nearly impossible.
Why? Is it just too heavy?
It's the skeletal load. A 2017 study modeled this using stress analysis on the bones. If a T-Rex tried to run at, say, 70 kilometers per hour, which is about 45 miles per hour,
Yeah.
the forces generated when its foot hit the ground would likely shatter its leg bones.
Oh, so it would literally break its own legs if it tried to sprint.
Likely, yes. The impact force would exceed the sheer strength of the bone. It's a physics problem. And that's not even getting into the muscles.
What about the muscles?
The muscle mass required to move that fast would be impossible. Some studies calculated it would need to be something like 86% of its body weight just in its legs.
Which is not feasible.
Not even close. There'd be no room for organs.
So what is the speed limit? What's the real number?
Most modern studies put the top speed around 27 kilometers per hour. That's about 17 miles per hour.
17 miles. That's attainable. A good human sprinter can do that.
Usain Bolt can do 27 kilometer air. A reasonably fit human might hit 15 or 16 mile per hour in a panic sprint. So it's going to be close. But here's the thing. T-Rex wasn't built for sprinting. It was built for efficiency.
What do you mean by that?
There was a study in 2020 that looked at the leg proportions. T-Rex has relatively long legs, but not for speed. It's for energy-efficient walking. They are power walkers.
Power walkers. I'm picturing a T-Rex in a mall walking club with light weights.
It's funny, but it's biomechanically accurate. They could cover huge distances with very little energy expenditure. They were the marathon walkers of the Cretaceous.
So they were stalkers.
Exactly. They could stalk prey for days, just keeping pace, waiting for an opening. While you were sprinting and getting tired, it is just walking tirelessly.
And there was something about the tail, right? Helping them walk. That seems counterintuitive.
It does. But a 2021 study by Pasha van Beulert in the Netherlands changed how we see it. They modeled the tail not just as a dead weight for balance, but as a resonating ligament.
Like a spring.
Almost exactly. Imagine a giant rubber band running down the tail. As the animal walks, the tail sways up and down naturally. The ligaments store energy on the upswing and release it on the downswing, helping to propel the animal forward. It acts like a suspension system.
That is incredible engineering, so it made walking cheaper energetically.
It is. And their model found a preferred walking speed, a resonant frequency. It's roughly 4.6 kilometers per hour, which is almost exactly the preferred walking speed of a human.
That is creepy. So if you were walking through the Cretaceous forest, a T-Rex could just silently pace you step for step without getting tired.
Precisely. It's the persistence hunter model. And while they weren't fast in a straight line, they might have been surprisingly agile.
Agile? A 9-ton animal? How?
Relative to other giants, of course, they have a specific foot structure called the arctometatarsus.
Break that down for me.
The middle foot bone, the metatarsal, is pinched at the top, between the other two bones. This locks the foot bones together into a single stable unit, making them very good at transmitting force without twisting.
A more efficient foot.
A much more efficient foot, combined with massive leg muscles and low rotational inertia because the weight is centered near the hips. Some studies suggest they could pirouette.
Pirouette? Like a ballerina.
A horrifying 9-ton ballerina. They could pivot on one foot very quickly to turn and face a threat or prey. So you might outrun it in a long straight line if you're fast, but don't try to outmaneuver it in close quarters. It can spin faster than you think.
Okay, noted. Don't play tag with a T-Rex. Now we have to talk about the arms.
We can't avoid them. The elephant in the room. Or the tiny arm theropod in the room.
It is the joke of the paleontology world. The tiny arms, they're only about 1 meter long.
About the size of a human arm, really. Which sounds big, but not on that body.
But attached to a building-sized animal, why are they vestigial? Like, were they just on their way out evolutionarily?
That's been the assumption for a long time. But vestigial implies useless. And when you look at the bones, they aren't useless at all.
What do you see?
The areas where the muscles attach, the insertion points, are huge. The cortical bone, the outer layer, is extremely thick. These were not flimsy, weak little arms.
So they were strong.
Very strong. Estimates suggest the bicep alone could lift nearly 199 kilograms. That's over 400 pounds.
Wait, each arm?
Yes. So this animal could curl a motorcycle. That doesn't sound vestigial. If they were useless, evolution would have withered the muscles away.
But they're so short, they can't even reach the mouth. What were they doing with them?
That is the million-dollar question. There have been so many theories over the decades. Back in 1906, Osborn suggested they were for grasping mates.
The romantic hug theory.
A very strong, potentially painful hug. Then there was the push-up theory from Newman.
The push-up theory.
The idea that if a T-Rex was sleeping on its belly, it needed those strong little arms to push its front end up enough to get the legs under it, to stand up.
That makes some sense. It's a lot of weight to lift off the ground.
It does. Then there's the weapon theory. Stephen Stanley suggested they were used for slashing. The claws were sharp. If it got close to prey, it could inflict deep gashes.
But the reach is so short, you'd have to be basically chest bumping the prey to use them.
True. The range of motion is really limited, which brings us to a really interesting recent theory by Kevin Padian in 2022. He flipped the script completely.
Oh, okay.
He suggested the arms didn't get small for a function. They got small for safety.
Safety? How is having smaller arms safer?
Imagine a group of T-Rex feeding on a carcass. It's a frenzy. Giant jaws snapping, teeth crushing bone, heads thrashing around. If you have long, waving arms in that mix...
Chop.
Exactly, you get them bitten off. Accidental amputation by a feeding partner. Padian argued that shrinking the arms got them out of the way of the jaws of other T-Rex. It's adaptation by reduction.
That is fascinating. So it's not, what are these for? It's let's tuck these away so I don't lose them.
It's a compelling hypothesis. It reminds us that evolution isn't always about building bigger weapons. Sometimes it's about damage control.
Speaking of damage control, let's talk about growing up. Because a T-Rex doesn't start out 9 tons. They hatch from an egg.
No, and the growth curve is terrifying. We can determine their age by looking at the rings in their bones, like tree rings. It's called skeletochronology.
And what does the life of a T-Rex look like based on those rings?
It's an S-shaped curve. For the first decade or so, they grow relatively slowly. A teenage T-Rex, say 13 or 14 years old, is still a large animal, but it's lanky. It's built for speed. It doesn't have the massive bulk yet.
It's the gazelle phase.
Maybe the cheetah phase. They were likely chasing smaller, faster prey. But then, around age 14, something happens. They hit a physiological growth spurt that is hard to comprehend.
How fast are we talking?
They start putting on about 600 kilograms a year. That's 1,600 pounds every single year for 4 years straight.
That is, they are gaining a cow and a half every year.
Basically, they bulk up massively. The skull deepens, the bite force increases exponentially, they slow down, and they become the bruisers we know. It's one of the most extreme growth rates in the animal kingdom.
This brings us to a huge controversy in the field. The dwarf tyrant, Nanotyrannus.
Oh boy. This is one of the biggest fights in dinosaur paleontology. It gets heated at conferences. People have very strong feelings about this.
So explain this to me. For years, we've found these smaller, sleeker Tyrannosaur skulls. And some people say, that's a different species, Nanotyrannus, and others say, no, that's just a teenage T-Rex.
That's the debate in a nutshell. The most famous specimens are Jane and the Bloody Mary specimen found in the dueling dinosaurs fossil. They have more teeth than adult T-Rex. Their skulls are flatter, they look different.
So who is winning this fight? Where does the science stand now?
It swings back and forth like a pendulum. For a while, the teenage T-Rex theory was winning. A study by Holly Woodward in 2020 analyzed the bone rings of Jane and another specimen. They found that these animals were young, 13 to 15 years old, and were actively growing.
So the bone ring said, I'm a kid.
Right. Woodward argued that Nanotyrannus is just what a T-Rex looks like before that massive growth spurt. It filled that mid-sized predator niche while it was a juvenile.
Case closed.
You'd think so. But recently, in 2024, the separate species camp came back swinging. Researchers like Nick Longrich and Evan Sayeda put out a new paper arguing the growth curves just don't match up.
How so?
They argue the bone rings in the Nanotyrannus specimens are getting close together, suggesting it was nearing its full size, a much smaller size than T-Rex. And they identified distinct anatomical features that shouldn't change just because you grow up.
So there might have been a mid-sized Tyrannosaur running around alongside the giant T-Rex.
That's their argument, that there was another, more gracile Tyrannosaur in the ecosystem. It's an ongoing debate, science in action. We are watching the consensus form and break in real time.
It's incredible that we're still arguing about the identity of these bones.
It is, and it connects to life expectancy. Sue, the oldest T-Rex we know of, was only about 28, maybe 33 years old when she died.
That seems young for such a huge animal. Elephants live way longer.
It's the live fast, die young strategy. They grew explosively, reached sexual maturity, and then they died. The fossil record suggests high mortality right around the time they become adults.
Right. What was killing them?
Each other, mostly. Fighting for mates, reproductive stress, defending territory. The life of a T-Rex was violent. Almost every adult specimen we find has healed fractures, bite marks, or infections. They beat each other up constantly. Scotty had a broken rib, an infected jaw, and a bite mark on his tail from another tyrannosaur.
Which actually leads us to a specific discovery that changed everything. Not about bones, but what's inside the bones, the soft tissue.
This is the Jurassic Park moment, for real. In 2005, Mary Schweitzer, her work turned paleontology on its head.
Tell us that story. I've heard it, but it's always amazing.
She was studying a T-Rex femur specimen, MOR 1125. They had to break the bone to ship it via helicopter, which is usually a no-no, but it was a happy accident. It allowed her to look deep inside the marrow cavity.
And she didn't just find rock?
No. She dissolved the mineral part of the bone away using a weak acid, a process called demineralization, and she was left with flexible, stretchy tissue. She found transparent structures that looked like blood vessels. She found small, red, round things that looked like red blood cells.
In a 68-million-year-old bone, that shouldn't be possible.
Everyone thought it was impossible.
Right.
Fossilization is supposed to replace everything with mineral. But she found collagen protein. It caused a massive storm in the scientific community. People said it was biofilm bacteria contamination.
But it held up.
It held up. Study after study has supported the idea that some original organic material can survive under the right conditions.
That is mind-blowing. And it helped confirm the connection to birds, right?
It did. The proteins they sequenced matched most closely with chickens and ostriches. But there was another clue in that femur. She found medullary bone.
What is that?
It's a special type of bone tissue that only female birds produce when they are pregnant, or rather, when they are ovulating, to create eggshells. It acts as a calcium reservoir. Finding it in a T-Rex proved the specimen was a female and she was pregnant when she died.
That is incredible. We can actually sex the dinosaur from its bone tissue. Now, speaking of birds, feathers.
The other big controversy. The one everyone wants to know about.
Did T-Rex look like a giant chicken? Because I've seen the art. Sometimes it's fluffy, sometimes it's scaly. What's the verdict?
It's complicated. We know for a fact that early tyrannosauroids, the ancestors, had feathers. A fossil from China called DeLong had them.
And Nanotyrannus.
And the large Tyrannosaurus, which also lived in China, was covered in shaggy, filamentous feathers. And it was big, about 9 meters long.
So big tyrannosaurs can have feathers. It's possible.
Yes, it's definitely possible. However, for T-Rex specifically, we have skin impressions. We have patches of skin from the neck, the tail, the hip, from a specimen nicknamed Y-Rex.
And what do they show?
Scales. Tiny, bumpy, mosaic scales. No sign of feathers in those preserved patches.
So, no feathers.
Likely not a full coat. Think about it like an elephant. Elephants are mammals. Their ancestors were hairy, but elephants are huge and live in warm climates. If they were covered in thick fur, they'd overheat.
Gigantothermy. They're so big they generate their own heat.
Exactly. Large animals retain heat well. A fully feathered adult T-Rex might have cooked itself from the inside out. So the current thinking is that if they had feathers, they were sparse, maybe just along the back like elephant hair, or maybe they were born with downy feathers and lost them as they grew up.
So less giant chicken and more scaly monster with maybe a feathery mullet.
That's a fair visual. A very intimidating mullet.
Okay, let's get into the behavior. The diet. Predator or scavenger. This was a huge debate in the 90s, thanks largely to Jack Horner.
Right. Jack Horner, the famous paleontologist who advised on the Jurassic Park films, ironically really pushed the pure scavenger hypothesis.
And his argument was what?
He looked at the tiny arms, useless for grappling, the relatively slow speed we just talked about, and that incredible sense of smell, and said, this thing is a glorified vulture. It walks around sniffing out dead things.
It makes sense on paper. Why risk fighting a triceratops if you can just eat a dead one?
It does make sense energetically. And to be clear, T-Rex absolutely scavenged. If it found a free meal, it would take it. Almost all large predators do. Lions scavenge. Wolves scavenge.
But was it only a scavenger?
That's where the theory falls apart. We have the smoking guns.
Healed wounds.
Yes, we have fossil evidence of failed predation. There is an Edmontosaurus, a duck-billed dinosaur with a tail vertebrae that has a chunk missing. And nestled in that wound is a T-Rex tooth.
And the key part.
The bone has grown back over the wound and around the tooth.
Which means?
It means a T-Rex bit it, and the Edmontosaurus got away and lived long enough for its bone to heal. You can't bite a dead animal and have it heal.
Oh, evidence of active hunting.
The ultimate proof. There's also a Triceratops horn that was bitten off and the stump healed over.
Oh.
So T-Rex was actively hunting live, dangerous prey.
And when it bit hard.
The hardest. The bite force estimates are, frankly, astronomical. They're between 35,000 and 57,000 newtons.
Put that in perspective for me. What's a human bite?
A human is maybe 800 newtons on a good day. A lion is maybe 4,000 newtons. A saltwater crocodile, the living champion, is around 16,000. T-Rex is more than double that, maybe triple.
It's just off the charts.
It's hydraulic press levels of force. You can simply crush the neck or back of its prey instantly. It didn't need to be surgical. It was overwhelming force.
So, a terrifying predator. But did it hunt alone? Or are we talking about the dino gangs hypothesis?
This is fascinating. The idea of pack-hunting Tyrannosaurs was really pushed by Philip Currie. He based this on bone beds places where multiple Tyrannosaurs of different ages died together.
Like the dry island bone bed in Alberta.
Exactly. For the related Tyrannosaur albertosaurus, you have 24 individuals, from young juveniles to old adults, all dead in the same place.
And Curry's idea was that this was a pack.
His idea is that they had a division of labor. The fast, lanky teenagers, the Nanotyrannus types, would act as the drivers, flushing out the prey, and the massive bone-crushing adults would be the anvil that the prey ran into.
That is a terrifying coordinated strategy. Is it accepted?
It's debated. Some argue that the bone beds could just be predator traps. Maybe they all got stuck in mud over time or gathered at a drying water hole. But then there are the trackways. In Canada, we found tracks of 3 tyrannosaurs moving together in the same direction at the same speed.
That sounds like a group to me.
It definitely suggests some level of social behavior. They weren't just solitary loners. They tolerated each other, at least sometimes.
Tolerated being the key word, because there is a darker side to their social life.
Cannibalism.
We have proof of this.
We do. We have T-Rex bones with T-Rex tooth marks on them. And given the spacing and shape of the gouges, it can only be another T-Rex.
So if it's a buddy died.
Lunch is served.
Yeah.
Or maybe they fought to the death and the winner ate the loser. It's a dog-eat-dog world or Rex-eat-Rex world.
Brutal. Now, before we wrap up, we have to touch on the taxonomy wars. We mentioned Nanotyrannus, but there was that study in 2022 that tried to split T-Rex into 3 species.
Oh, the King, Queen, and Emperor study, by Gregory Paul and his colleagues.
Right.
They argued that the variation we see in skeletons, some are robust with 2 pairs of incisors, some are slender with 1 warn and 3 names. Tyrannosaurus rex, the king, Tyrannosaurus imperator, the emperor, and Tyrannosaurus regina, the queen.
Did that stick?
Not really. The paleontological community largely rejected it. The consensus is that the differences are just natural variation within a single species. Just like humans vary in height and build, T-Rex did too.
Or maybe males and females were different sizes.
Exactly. Sexual dimorphism could account for it. The boundaries between the proposed species were just too fuzzy to be taxonomically valid for most people.
So for now, T-Rex stands alone as the one king.
Mostly. But there is a new twist from just this year, 2024. Tyrannosaurus micraensis.
The New Mexico find.
Yes. A partial skull found in the Hall Lake Formation. It looks incredibly similar to T-Rex, but the dating suggests it might be 6 to 7 million years older.
Whoa. So the grandfather of T-Rex.
Or a very close cousin. A direct ancestor, perhaps? It suggests that the Tyrannosaurus lineage might have originated in southern Laramidia, what is now the southern U.S., rather than being an immigrant from Asia, which was a leading theory.
So the king might be a native son after all.
It rewrites the map of where the Tyrant King came from.
So let's bring it all together, the real T-Rex. It's not the movie monster.
No, it's a smart, social, potentially lipped, power-walking, bone-crushing, attentive parent that grew from a lanky teen into a massive bulk. It's an animal that lived a violent life, grew faster than almost anything else, and died young.
It's scarier than the movies because it's a real biological animal that was perfectly adapted to its world.
Exactly. The why it matters is that Tyrannosaurus is the standard bearer for paleontology. Every new technology, CT scans, molecular analysis, biomechanical modeling, is tested on T-Rex first. Understanding it helps us understand the limits of life itself.
And that leads me to my final thought. The soft tissue. The collagen. If we can find proteins in a 68-million-year-old bone, what does that mean for the future of genetic research?
Right.
We're not talking about cloning, but could we one day know the color of its eyes from melanosomes?
Well,
Or the actual sound of its call from the structure of its inner ear and syrinx?
we're opening doors we didn't even know existed. We may never resurrect them, but we might know them more intimately than we ever thought possible.
Next time you see a pigeon on the street, just remember, that's the distant, fluttering cousin of the Tyrant King. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Always a pleasure.